You awake in utter darkness with a choking gasp. You are being smothered by a gas mask and a gun hangs heavy at your hip. As your heart beats faster and faster, some primal fear in your subconscious is activated. Surrounding you is a strange device, tomb-like in appearance. Before you can panic any further about your confinement, the panel in front of you lifts away, revealing a turbulent crimson sky. Rain slashes itself across the crimson like a blade, and suddenly you are moving. Your coffin lurches into motion, pulling your helpless form along with it. Eventually you reach a central point, and the motion stops for a soul-choking moment. You are facing 3 other gas mask people, all of them strapped into their own mechanical coffins. Just as you can barely comprehend that there is one to your left, one to your right, and one directly in front of you, your heart leaps into your throat as you drop immeasurably fast. Terror forces its way into you and your compatriots' heart, and text scrolls across the top of your vision as if projected into your very mind. Retrieve HSU-89. You can't remember anything about your past, but there are a few things you remember. You must obey the warden at all costs. You've definitely done this before, although your brain is foggy on the details. And finally, you know that wherever you and your friends are headed, you certainly won't be alone.
They come! I do not have the courage to face these demons! Dr. Dauda is revealed as a coward! May your gods forgive me!
This place is hell. I want to go home.
Please let me out! Please let me out!
Orders anymore. I'm giving them. They wake us from our nightmares to make us new ones.
This is how GTFO introduces you as a player to the true meat of the game. Before a player gets here, however, he or she must go through a few simplistic menus and choose what weapons they will be taking into the corner of hell known as the Santonian mining facility. This doesn't prepare you at all for the beasts that await you. Instead, the simplistic black menus give nothing away. The only hint you get is when you choose which rundown, the game's version of missions, you will be playing. Upon looking at one, you get the bare bones information about it. You get your mission, usually to retrieve something random, the difficulty of the mission, the depth of the mission / expedition, 421 meters in the first rundown. Finally, and most importantly, an audio transcription from the people who presumably tried this before you. This is where the game shows its hand a little bit. They react to light and sounds. Stand still. This audio transcription hints to two things: how to survive in this beautifully difficult game, and the fate that awaits you and your friends if you make a mistake. If you are someone completely new to GTFO, someone completely unspoiled, this must be effortlessly intriguing. What may be waiting down there? What beast must you face soon along with 3 of your friends? Then you press start, taking us right to the intro. The first part of the actual game you see is your character waking up disoriented and terrified, and before you can catch your bearings, you and your friends are immediately plunged into the depths, headed God knows where. This, in my opinion, is perfect. What it does is twofold. Firstly, it introduces the characters as much as you need to know for casual purposes. You aren't lone wolves swooping in to fix everything. You are scared and disoriented. This intro, the heavy breathing and the rain, sets the stage. You are prisoners, forced deep into hell to perform menial retrieval tasks from a mysterious entity known as the Warden. This brings us into the intro's secondary function: terror, not horror, and Radcliffe, a gothic novelist from the 19th century, defined horror as the revulsion or disgust after an event has happened. Terror, on the other hand, she defined as the feeling of dread before something happens. GTFO's intro masters this perfectly. For a completely green player, it plays on their terror, making them scared of what possible horrors could be about to come. GTFO's intro uses a show-don't-tell method perfectly. You know there must be something dangerous as the game makes you pick a multitude of guns to use. This lulls the player into a short sense of security, as most other games make guns, and by extension the player, very powerful weapons that make you the protagonist. Call of Duty, for example. That false sense of security is then thrown into doubt by the audio transcription when you pick a mission, and finally is completely evaporated by the rainy intro, leaving the new player just as terrified as their memoryless character. This all sets up GTFO's premise excellently. The player shouldn't feel powerful, they should feel terrified, and then if the player is lucky, that terror will keep them far away from stupid recklessness during the expedition, and then manage to keep them alive.
Let us just get in and get out.
Bring it what it wants. Or die. In the dark.
No sudden moves.
Where the monsters wait.
GTFO's gameplay is deceptively simple. Sneak around the facility, quietly eliminate sleepers, grab your objective and quietly leave. However, it's not as simple as it sounds. The facility itself, for starters, is a goddamned maze. You and your team will have to use terminals scattered around the map to locate what section the item you are searching for is located in. After that, you have to slowly make your way to that section of the facility, quietly killing sleeping monsters with your melee weapons. Every step you make, you better be sure of. Every monster you kill, you better make sure its friends didn't hear it die. You see, all the monsters, aside from a select few that I don't have time to talk about in this essay, are sleeping when you and your friends arrive at the facility, and it is up to you guys to keep them that way. If you don't, and stumble around idiotically, waking every sleeper in your path, you and your friends will inevitably be forced into a corner, just barely managing to hold them off as your ammunition dwindles and dwindles until your guns click empty and you die to the swarm. This forces you, and the 3 friends you were playing with, to take it slow. If you blunder even slightly, wake a single one of the monsters up, there is a high possibility that you and your friends will be overwhelmed instantly. Your guns are there more for reassurance than defence. If you are using them when you aren't forced to by a scan, you and your team might as well sign your own death warrants. Over the years, gamers have gotten more and more used to being the main character, having unmatchable strength, and knowing that they can win every fight they go into, and that has given them the secure knowledge that they are the predator of this world. GTFO flips this straight onto its head. You are not the predator of this world, far from it. In fact, if you pick an unnecessary fight, you and your team will most likely be torn limb from limb before you even get a chance to run out of ammunition. This forces you as the player to slow down. Gone are the days of running and gunning. This game is all about crouching and stabbing. Overall, this is beautiful. It takes away the safety blanket we have all gotten used to without realising, and replaces it with a blanket made of terror and bated breath. GTFO is one of the very few games that has made me feel genuinely anxious. And this is excellent. It means I am immersed, very aware of how vulnerable my character is in the present moment. Sometimes though, because GTFO is a cruel mistress, she decides to throw shit into the fan on purpose. If you and your friends were meticulous enough, careful and quiet enough, you could theoretically go through all the game's expeditions without waking a single sleeper. The game isn't having that, however, so there's alarm doors. Every so often, as you go through one of GTFO's expeditions, creeping ever closer to that goal you and your team have set, you will come across an alarm door that requires a scan to shut off the alarm and open the door. You are told the door is alarmed before you even interact with it. This is an omen from the game. You're going to need to prepare for one of these before you start the scans. The alarm will spawn wave after wave of awake and very angry sleepers in a distant room until all of the scanning spots in your current room have been stood in by a player for a certain amount of time. Here, the player is forced to face their worst nightmares, the awakened sleepers. The players can set up turrets and traps, but they can't exactly hunker down. The scanning spots spider all over the room, forcing the team to separate and leave their little improvised garrison to complete the scan and stop more and more sleepers from spawning. GTFO knows exactly what it is doing by moving the scan spots all over the room. The developers knew that the players would try and hunker down in one spot until the scan was complete, somewhat trivialising the waves of death that are assaulting themselves upon them. So what did they do? They threw that concept out the window. They forced the team apart with many different scans that individuals have to complete, and then doubles down on the game's subtext philosophies. You are weak, you are not in control, and you are a prisoner. These design philosophies are also present in the tools you as a player have at your disposal. Arguably, your most important weapon is the melee weapon you pick. All of them have different ranges and charge speeds, etc. What truly matters is that you hit the monsters in the back of the head, and for God's sakes don't wake the monsters. Then you have your guns. There are a multitude of weapons with different strengths, but all of them have the same flaw: ammunition. If you wake the beast or don't shoot straight just during a scan, God have mercy on you. You'll run out of ammunition quicker than you know, leaving you high and dry when you most need it. Your ammunition can be refilled with ammo packs inside lockers around the facility, but each pack only refills a small amount that varies based on the strength of your weapon. Split these packs amongst you and your friends, and you'll find that there really wasn't many bullets to begin with. Bullets are considered a luxury in this game by the theoretical Warden standards. If you die, he'll just replace you. Save them, or be overwhelmed when you need them. Finally, there are tools. My favourite one is the scanner, which tells you the location of sleepers in whatever direction you are facing. The rest have some sort of defensive capabilities, but are massively limited by ammunition, which can be refilled with a tool refill kit. Every single resource down here is scarce, and should be doled out appropriately. Hoard everything to yourself, and you and your team will die when you need it. Speaking of dying, it isn't fun in GTFO. The levels/rundowns of GTFO can last anywhere from an hour to about 3 hours, depending on how careful you are. Very occasionally there will be a save point, a place you can reload if you all die, but these are very few and far between. In fact, they're such a rarity that getting one is more scary than anything. It makes you as the player wonder what is coming. However, the developers of GTFO are quite cheeky. Even when there is a save spot, it's usually after the first quarter of the mission. This is where you've discovered what section of the facility you should be heading towards for your, the mission you've picked. This means that if you die and have to reload the save, you don't have to faff around with the command terminals to find the location of what you're looking for. But you do still have to traipse all around the facility to get there. Everything I just said relies on there being a save spot, but in reality, there very rarely is one. Usually, you can do an entire rundown without a save, raising the stakes exponentially as time goes on. This forces you and your team to focus and pay attention. If you make one particularly bad mistake as you were trying to fly through the mission, you and your team will most likely be torn apart and lose an hour or more of progress. Some people find this annoying. Some people find it an insurmountable barrier to the game as a whole, but to me it's perfect. You and your team will have to move carefully, quietly, and get out of the gamer's mindset that you can take anything, otherwise you will die and be swiftly replaced. You have to be thorough, otherwise your chances of failure increase exponentially until inevitably something goes wrong, and you and your team's progress is wiped off the surface of the earth. If you take anything away from this video, take away this. In GTFO, you are not a god of destruction. You are a measly and easily replaceable prisoner who is constantly a single misstep away from death. And that is why it's such an excellent game.
All we know is we'll have to work together, or we'll die together.
One thing that is almost immutably bound to trivialise the terror of a game is your group of idiot friends. Together you can turn the most scariest, most teeth-chatteringly terrifying game into a laugh fest. Yes, fun, but not exactly scary. Some games, such as Subnautica, sidestep this entirely by just not being multiplayer, and instead of relying on your isolation to generate terror. GTFO is a game about teamwork. However, it needs your idiot friends as well as you. So what does it do? It forces you to shut up. GTFO doesn't sense microphone input or anything, but it has the bizarre effect of making people who are taking it seriously shut up. As you and your friends creep through the cavernous corridors of the facility, you won't be catching up on each other's lives. Instead, every word will be spoken softly, as if the sleeping beast can hear you through the screen. GTFO's masterful use of immersion ensures that when the character you are playing as whispers, you do. When that same character is shouting in panic at his teammates, so are you. The player and his or her character is intertwined in beautiful artwork of immersion by making you and your friends so vastly underpowered compared to other games. GTFO ensures that you are just as terrified as your characters. You see, if one of you somehow stumbles and wakes up the beasts, you aren't all necessarily doomed. If you can work with your team and coordinate your shared defence quickly and efficiently enough, you and your team could survive. Although GTFO slows down every other aspect of the game, this is one thing it feels pertinent to speed up. There is no lone wolfing in GTFO. If you abandon your teammates and go off on your own, you will die and so will they. Minute by minute, this game subtly teaches you and your friends to actually be a team, be multiple limbs of the same body working towards a shared goal. While some games have teamwork, they don't necessarily need teamwork. Fortnite and Call of Duty, for example. In GTFO, there are multiple mechanics to try and force you to work with your friends. Sometimes sleepers will spawn right next to each other, forcing you to synchronise a double kill with your friend, or risk waking all the beasts. Other times, there are giant sleepers that require at least 3 people to hit them in the back of the head to kill them. These giants can be a run-ender easily. If there is any confusion or delay when you're all simultaneously striking, the beast will wake up and immediately awaken everything else in the room. A single small mistake like this can lead to the team being forced to fall back to another room and prepare for combat, or die. Finally, in GTFO, you need your friends to survive encounters. You can revive them if they get down, but that puts them at 20% health, meaning they would need all 4 uses of a 4-use medical pack to get back to 100%. Resources in GTFO are way too scarce for this to be done thoughtlessly. It is incredibly easy to take damage in GTFO, but that means that whoever is hurt mightn't have enough health to survive an alarm onslaught leading to the failure of a run, so you as a team are forced to look out for each other. Make sure none of you is particularly hurt, and ensure that none of you are left high and dry. GTFO is the first shooter, or stealth game for that matter, that I have played where you as the player are forced to look after your friends. It teaches you to prioritise. Use that medkit you were saving for yourself on your friend, so he or she can help you when shit hits the fan.
Why are we here? What terrible things do we do to deserve such hell?
GTFO is one of the best games I've ever played. Somehow, it manages to master pacing and actually build teamwork between you and your group of degenerate friends. It can somehow take gamers who are used to being nigh unkillable gods and make them actually slow down, make them actually use stealth or risk being sent back to the start of a mission and lose an hour or more of progress because they couldn't play nice. If any game were to be used in the gaming industry to teach developers how a teamwork dynamic should be implemented, it is this game. On top of all this, it has an incredibly interesting story hidden behind terminal logs and etc. These logs explain the story of how you and your friends ended up prisoners here, as well as many more fascinating details. However, if I talked about the lore of GTFO in this video, it'd probably exceed 2 hours. I will make that video one day, but not right now. In conclusion, GTFO is an excellent game. If you've never played it, give it a chance. It's £35 on Steam, but regularly goes on sale for £20. Get it and realise what an underrated masterpiece this beautiful looking and sounding game is. Thank you for listening to this undoubtedly kind of long video essay. I hope that all of you enjoyed it. If you want to support my work, you can subscribe to my Patreon from the link in description. For just $1 a month, you can get your name in the video, early access to all video essays I make, access to bloopers, access to behind the scenes footage, and interaction with me. Thank you for watching this video. I hope some of you give GTFO a shot, because it is an incredible game. And I'll see you in the next one.